I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.
I had a ton of fun over on the podcast with you, and really been looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite, man. This is the first time on the other side of the interview, so I'd say the nerves are there, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Before I get started, I always like to thank a few companies that partnered up with me, and that's Cast and Pool, Aventacor, LT Jigs, Squirrel, Ohio Bait Company, Charles Sassy, the Cane Pole, Bypass Bait and Tackle, Backwaters Bait and Tackle, Get Outside Kentucky, and the Barbershop. And there's a lot of companies, small businesses here local here in Kentucky, and then also your small business bait makers. A few of them here on TikTok. Where are you from, man?
I am in Ohio. I'm originally from Indiana, but I've been in Ohio about 11 years now. Right on the edge of Lake Erie, right by Cedar Point.
I got you. Hey, so you mainly bass fish though, right?
That's all I do. I bass fish. That's not to say I don't catch a lot of other species, but bass fishing is my passion, and that's what I do.
I understand. And who got you into fishing?
When I was a young kid, one of my mom's boyfriends actually took me out fishing the first time. Like I said, I lived in Illinois, so it was on the Mississippi, and caught a carp the size of me at 6 years old. It was as big as I was, and that was it for me. Even after they kind of split up and we moved to Indiana, I kept doing it myself, and I found myself more into the bass fishing than catfishing and everything else. I went catfishing with my friends, at night and drinking beer and having fun.
Yep.
But bass fishing, that's where it was at for me.
Yeah. Yeah. They that's like I tell a lot of people. All I ever did was wade fish, so that's all I mainly did was smallmouth fish in the creeks, and
Yeah.
and then me and my buddies would catfish at night, like you said, and we'd throw cold ones back and sit down there and tell lies all night long. But it's just everyone gets started out in some way, and then you kind of transition, later in life. Because I think it was Bass Junkie. I got cracked up at him. He was like, you're in a bass tournament. And he said, all you do is crappie fish. He was just busting. He's like, all you do is cry. I was like, wait a minute now, dog. I was like, if I'm on the boat, I'm chasing a frying pan. I was like, I said, my confidence level on bass fishing, I said, is in the creeks.
Yeah.
I have limited time on the water, and I like to eat. Y'all have seen videos of my big belly. I like to eat. Let's see here a few comments. Budget, yeah. Big Country was the one. He said he's not part of the group. He didn't show up in a Speedo.
Oh my goodness.
That's an inside joke. We used to tell Cast and Pool we was going to have Speedos made with their logo on the back of them. We was going to go live fishing with them one day. And everybody in there, it just become a thing. I think still to this day, they have people come into their lives when they're live, and they're like, have y'all come out with them Speedos yet? Just as a joke. But
no, nobody let me in. I didn't know. I mean, oh no, it's nice over here in Sandusky. I do a lot of lake fishing, a lot of reservoir fishing, but I need to learn to do some of the creek fishing. We do have some rivers and things evidently that run into Erie, but I don't go up there much. I stay in the main lakes and reservoirs. But
yeah, and see, I've been up here for, I'm trying to think, 2000. So I've been up here in Richmond about 11 years now, and the biggest reason why I bought my house is because there's a little creek like right on the backside of the neighborhood. It honestly reminded me a little bit of back home, because there's nothing but farmland out there on the other side of the creek,
yeah,
and it just, reminded me of back home. There's not big fish in it, which I don't say I want to go out and catch a 10-pound bass every time I go either. But but I never did really explore like Silver Creek and Elkhorn and some of these other creeks just until a few years ago, and I still don't hit them up this way as much as I should. But yeah, man, creek fishing is just that's where I got started and still my passion. I will drive 2.5 hours home to Harlan County just to wade fish. That's how much I love it.
Well, I've never done the wade fishing, I guess you could say, not in the sense. I've done, just barefoot walking in the water when I was young, and I have fished the creeks and things throughout the years, depending on where I lived. I was a Rolling Rock for a while, so, I'd lived in a few different states, but I like the lake fishing a lot, but I can also adapt and I can jump in the creeks and figure it out and catch some fish in there as well. I remember when I was a kid, we used to, the bait shops would buy, we called them chubs, right?
Yeah.
Just little bait fish in the creeks. And we'd go down there and we'd roll up our pants, or we were already in shorts, whatever. And we'd jump in there and we'd catch those fish and we'd take them to the bait shop. And they pay you, maybe it was a penny a fish. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
that was something we really enjoyed, under the old train track bridge and
Oh yeah.
catching all them chubs and turn them into the bait shops. You can't do that anymore, but
Yeah. Yeah, and see that's the thing is I've done a video there a while back with my creek kit with casting pool, and I went to a spot I was going to try to catch trout and started catching creek chubs. And I just like heck with it. I was like, I'm just going to keep casting and catching these things because it reminded me of whenever I was a kid.
yes,
We didn't have a bait shop, where I grew up. Nothing like. I mean, we had, like I said, that like the guy that owned like a small, like mom and pop's Ace Hardware that
yeah,
sold, mealworms and stuff like that. But if we were wanting cut bait or something, live bait to catfish with, we'd either have to set a trap, go seine, or just take, rod and reel with some bread and hope you caught it. But it,
provide for yourself, huh?
yeah, but like I said, I was standing on that big rock just like I did whenever I was, 7, 8 year old and started catching them creek chubs. I was like, man, it brought back a ton of memories of just doing that with my friends and my family, getting ready to
Yeah.
go fish the river,
Yeah, it's amazing what something like that can do for you, just being here doing the interview, I haven't talked about when I was a kid catching, the chubs out of the creek and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But as soon as I start saying it, all those pictures flash in my head. What a great time,
Oh yeah, all right. It is for sure. And Bear says, "What's your favorite color, Uncle Cory?"
I don't have a favorite color no more.
Okay.
My favorite color is orange. And I get that a lot, and I love to paint orange because it is my favorite color. But when it comes to actual baits that I like to fish, it's a little more of the green. Erie itself, it always has a green tinge. Whether it's a little more clear than other days, it's only a couple feet of visibility at most. And I kind of like to match, what the fish look like as they're coming up through the water. Because you can't go down really to the water's edge and pick out what the color of the bait fish are.
Yeah.
You only get to see it when you're bringing them up. So green is a good one, or just a dark color.
Yeah.
So
I found I'm starting to like a little bit of grays on mine.
yes, I actually painted a almost like a shad color with a holographic background on it. The guy that I fish with wanted 3 2.5s like that, so I painted them up. He loved them. We were out fishing the other day, and he pulled in a 1 pound smallmouth on it. And of course, I'm over there snapping pictures. I'm like, yeah, you caught it on my bait. I got to get some pictures.
It goes from fishing to photography session whenever you catch something on one of your baits.
It does.
And I love it whenever my wife's with me. I'm like, hurry up, get your phone. Hurry up, get your phone.
That's right.
He's like, come on now.
Don't take the bait out of its mouth. Leave it in the mouth. Just hold it up.
Hurry up, get your phone out before I get this thing pulled in, you know. And then it's usually, you know, like the 1 pound bass, you know, like the 6-inch, half-ounce bass that I hold up in my PB videos.
Yeah.
Big Country asked you, he said, what's your go-to for catching smallmouth?
So I'm not as avid in the smallmouth as I am just largemouth bass fishing. But when I am trying to target the smallmouth, I like to go with a stupid tube. So the stupid tube works really well out in Erie. I'm really a shallow water fisherman, and I'm trying to work on that and get to where I can do more of the medium depths, you know, the 8 to 10 feet and even deeper. Even though Erie is one of the shallowest Great Lakes, it's still got some deep areas and rock piles and reefs, if you will, that are kind of man-made. But I don't get out in the deep water too much. So when I am trying to target smallmouth, it's going to be a jig, like a bitsy bug jig, or a stupid tube. And I'm sticking to the basic colors. I don't do anything outside of the box. It's going to be that, you know, green pumpkin or black and blue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big Country, he said up there just a second, he said, I knew you like, he knew you.
I see him down there.
So here's my next question for you. If you had to survive using only one lure for the rest of your life, what are you picking and why?
Ooh, that is a tough question. It's going to be a jig. And the reason being is I have fished a jig for so long. Just a regular swim jig. I never really got into the different styles of jigs. I just picked up a jig one day. It was a swim jig. I started catching fish with it. And I've been introduced to, and for some reason the name leaves me, but it's a new style, newer to me anyway. It's a cross between the football jig and the swim jig. So you can let it stand up on bottom or you can swim it along. But my go-to would be that jig in black and blue with a little crawl trailer. And that's what I'd stick with.
I got you. Big Country asked me what mine would be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna laugh because I don't even hardly fish with them anymore. But I've got to go with it because in my opinion, it's the most underrated bait there is. And that's a rooster tail.
Oh, that's an amazing bait, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's all strictly. Like I was talking to one of my buddies the other day about wade for his BFE, or it was today. I was talking to John today on the way home, and I was talking to him about how before it become, you know, fishing with people's product, pro staff, owning a business, trying to. I said, dude, I said, whenever I used to wade fish, I said, I had an 8 grid Plano box. I'd tie a rope on it, wear it like a necklace. I said, I'd have like 1 or 2 micro cranks in it, you know, some terminal tackle with just a few, you know, pre-rigged hugger mites. But that entire other side was nothing but rooster tails.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Mepps squirrel tail with an orange and black blade. And I don't know how many times that I would fish with those rooster tails and I'd catch pumpkin seeds, I'd catch bluegill, I'd catch smallmouth. I mean, about whatever there was in the creek. I mean, trout. It seemed like it was a multi-species jackhammer of a lure for me during the time that I fished with it. So if I could only go back to fishing with one lure, it'd have to be rooster tails.
Yeah. Another childhood favorite of mine would be a beetle spin.
Yes.
Those things, they catch. They're still around. You can still go to the store. You can get them today. Yeah. They make them, you know, bigger, smaller, different sizes. And they may have when I was a kid. But, you know, when you're a kid, you walk into, you know, at the time it would have been Walmart or some little bait store. And you just beetle spin and you grab it off the shelf and you go fish with it. So we weren't as worried about sizes and colors and all this other stuff, what color blade. And we just knew we could catch fish with it, and we were confident. So it worked.
And see, that's like you had Sims on your podcast, and he was talking about beetle, or he was running his cell.
Mm-hmm.
I went over there and I checked it out and seen that he made beetle spins, and I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So I got beetle spins from him and a crank, but I'm getting ready to order here in a couple of months a bunch of beetle spins from Sims to take to some of the shows with me and to personally fish with too. I do like a beetle spin.
Yeah. Kmart, look at Bear down there, naming a store that doesn't even exist anymore.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
I used to go there all the time. Blue light specials, baby.
I'm trying to think. Ollie's has fishing gear now.
Yes. Yeah.
And I went in there, and it's really not bad stuff that they've got. You know, I'm like, this is interesting.
Ollie's is I like to call it the Aldi of all these big brand stores, right?
Yeah.
So whatever Walmart doesn't seem to sell, or whatever store you want to talk about that might have fishing gear and stuff like that, it goes to Ollie's, and they just sell it cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah. Let's see here. Next question: what's your biggest fishing superstition?
I don't even have one. I'll be honest with you.
I think mine's a full moon you're not going to catch, because I've night fished many a time, and it'd be a full moon and still catch fish, but not as many.
Yeah,
not as many.
I've heard people say, nothing yellow, no banana in the boat, this, that, and the other. And you asked me the question. I really don't have one. Loud, I guess being loud in the boat, that annoys me. You know what I mean?
I will tell you right now, it's a fact. I don't know if you've heard me talk about it. I know someone in there has, but my brother went crappie fishing with me on the pontoon. I had him, found a big stack of them, and I told every time I'd find them, my brother would get up and start moving around, and it'd spook them.
Yeah.
And finally, I found him again, and he literally went to get up, and I reached over and I grabbed hold of him, and I just leaned back in my seat, and I said, "Before you get up," I said, "I want you to turn your head over here." I said, "Look at this screen." And he did, and I said, "All right." And I go out, I said, "Just keep looking at the screen." I said, "Get up and walk." And he did, and he's like, "Damn." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Every time I find him, dude," I was like, "You're killing me, dog."
Hey, how many times have you been underwater in a pool and you hear everything? Not only do you hear it, but if somebody taps on the ladder, that metal or something like that, you can feel it in the water. And I think that's what's happening. But yeah, I agree with Baby though. He said a superstition of his is catching that fish the very first cast. It does tend to kill my confidence when I do. I try not to think of it that way, because I don't want to be the result of my own demise, but it does get to me.
Now that I really think about it, and I seen what Stroud said, with the cows laying down. I've heard people talk about that. That was a good one too.
Yep.
But a superstition, and I didn't pick up on this until one of my buddies. We used to kayak fish like crazy. Me and my wife, and a couple of my buddies, and a coworker of mine. After a fishing trip that weekend, he's like, "Man," he's like, "if you notice," he's like, "every time your wife catches the first fish," he said, "we just absolutely wear them out that day." He said, "And if one of us catches the first fish, it's just a slow day." And I was like, now that you think about it, I think about it, I was like, you're right. I was like, every time we've all went home with a cooler full of fish, she's caught the first one.
Yeah.
So it got to a point we get out there, I wouldn't even get my pop, I'd be like, "Cast."
Yeah.
Catch one.
I think a lot of superstition is just relays back to confidence. You know what I mean? If you're one of those that says, "Man, if you bring a banana in my boat, I'm going to be ticked because it's bad luck." And I think if you get in your own head like that, it can it can really bring a bad day. And it's
can.
all about that confidence. Just like fishing your most confident bait throughout the whole day, you won't put that thing down. And what was the reason you didn't catch fish? They just weren't biting today. But if it's a bait that you've never fished before, and I do this sometimes, I'll take that bait and that bait only because I want to use that bait. And if I take others, I'll switch. And you go fishing with that all day, what's the answer at the end of the day? That bait don't really work.
Yeah. Yeah. Big Country asked, does anyone else feel the sonar affects your fishing? I know one person in here say yes, and I know him well. And that's Brian. Brian Rowland.
Yeah. I think trolling motors can affect the fish. I really like to sneak up on them. When I start getting close to my area, I might drop the trolling motor in. But if we start catching fish, I try and use it as little as possible. It makes noise. That's all there is to it. But at the same effect, so does the sonar. You know,
you get the prop wash. I mean, you don't realize how far that you know. I mean, like usually whenever I'm trolling around and I'm looking, I literally turn my setting down on my trolling motor as far as I can, so it'll be as quiet as it can.
Yep, down there on number one, as long as that wind ain't blowing enough to where it doesn't really work. But if you've ever turned on, like I have my depth finder, I have the oh my gosh, I can't think of words tonight. What is wrong with me? Transducer. I have the transducer that's built into the trolling motor. And if I turn that on to test something while it's in the garage, you can hear it snap, 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 snap. Now that is out of the water, and it don't get me wrong, I know this is going to be said, it can harm it if you do it for too long out of the water, but I'm just talking a few minutes. But you hear that snapping of the trolling motor or of the transducer, so it's got to echo through the water.
Oh yeah.
That's how the whole thing works. It's a location device.
Absolutely. Brian up here, he said, well, fish have the lateral line and feel every vibration.
Yep.
Hey, baby said, you're in the wrong box.
Which one of us? We both do this.
Yeah. Let's see here. Next one. What bait do you defend like it's family?
The chatterbait. I love the chatterbait. When I go fishing, I have a jig, chatterbait, Texas rig, weightless fluke, and then anything else, you know, spinner baits and stuff like that. But I always have that chatterbait on. It works.
Have you had the chance to fish any of these micro chatters that some of these guys are fishing or making?
No, because I get in my own head about it. I know smaller baits don't mean smaller fish, but at the same time, I like to fish a 3/8, and to throw anything smaller than 3/8, especially if I'm on Lake Erie, it just floats away. It doesn't work correctly. The current drags it. You know, if you throw out the front of the boat, your bait just goes right on by you. Yeah. And then you're trying to reel it up the current.
Yeah.
So 3/8, half ounce. But I haven't tried the micro chatters. I do fish some reservoirs, so maybe I should try that.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with them, man. John BFE, he sent me some pictures whenever he first started making them. And I never was a real big chatterbait fisherman at all, really. And but whenever I first looked at it, I was like, I think that would do really good in the creeks, and I really think that I could potentially crappie fish with that.
100%, you could.
So I've not tried the crappie fishing yet with it, but I have fished with them in the creek, and I've had some pretty good success with it.
Crappie are a pretty aggressive fish. Fishing the reservoirs with a 3/8 ounce chatterbait, and I have caught some slabs of crappie. I don't keep them. I put everything back. I'm not really a fish for the frying pan guy. I do enjoy fish once in a while. It's not my absolute favorite. I just love the sport. I love fishing just through and through. It's just in
Oh,
my blood.
well, you can start keeping those crappie and flaying them out and put them in your freezer. And about once every 4 months, I'll make a trip up there to Ohio and gladly take them out.
That's
I
now you sound like my neighbor over here. He's a walleye and perch fisherman, and I'm on Erie. I catch walleye. I just caught one on a spinnerbait, last weekend, and it was a good 15, 16-inch walleye. And I'm standing out in the driveway and I'm telling him about it, and he's like, "Where's it at?" And I said, "I put it back." And he goes, "How many times do I got to tell you? I could have made a sandwich out of that."
Yeah. You don't know how many people I caught that walleye in the creek a few weekends ago, and everybody's like, it hurt me seeing that walleye swim away, and I'm like, well, I was wade fishing. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have a cooler. I didn't want to tie it off to my shoestring and have it hanging off of my belt loop, because I have done that before crappie fishing the bank. I took my shoestring out and made a stringer with a shoestring and a stick.
Yes, sir. I mean, before we had all this newfangled stuff, that's what you did.
Oh yeah.
You wanted a stringer, you just made one. I don't care if it was a nice green limb off a tree. You can stick them fish on there, leave a little fork in the end, and they ain't going nowhere.
No, they sure ain't. Let's see. What's the fishing equivalent of trusting a fart?
What's the fishing equivalent of trusting a fart? Well, I'd have to say I have tried to trust a fart before. Never
I knew that one would kind of throw anybody for a loop because you wouldn't expect to have that one asked. But
the fishing equivalent of trusting a fart. You got me on that one.
I would say the reason why I asked this question,
okay,
is because I was night fishing the other night, and I don't know if anybody's seen them, and my heart's broke because I bought the last one from the cane bowl, but it's an Eagle Claw meal ticket tournament crappie rod.
Okay.
So as I was I usually fish with 6 poles, and I already had that one out, and I said, heck with it, I'm gonna use it against better judgment. Hooked up with a big catfish, and that was the pole, and it snapped it in 3 pieces. And I was like, I should have known better, and it literally kind of my house. So that was like me, like someone trusting a fart, like, oh yeah, nothing's going to happen to this brand new $120 rod that you just bought,
I get what you're saying now.
Yeah, but I was like, yeah, I should have known better than to do that, but. Like I said, I got him in, and I said, well, sorry, big boy, but you're going to live in my freezer now.
I guess now that you kind of gave me an example, it would be kind of like my first day with my brand new boat is thinking I can get it into an area where I've always wanted to fish, and Erie's full of rocks. So I went into this area with the trolling motor on, and didn't hit nothing, didn't see nothing, and we got ready to leave, and I turned on that motor, and I had it trimmed up, and I went down through there just at idle speed, and I am talking first day within 3 hours of having this brand new bass tracker, and we went through this little spot, and I felt the whole boat jump forward, and the motor died, and I went, do not tell me that I just ruined my brand new motor.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It just clipped the skeg, and I'm not even sure why it died, but it fired right back up, and it's been great ever since. But
and you saying that it died, I had a instance. We were fishing the Cumberland River, and I went up in the Rockcastle River, and we got real shallow. And same thing happened to me, but it was my propeller. So it clipped just a little piece of my propeller off, but my engine died too. And I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, oh shit. I was like, wait a minute. I mean, my brother was with me. He was like, it's gonna be okay. I was like, no, I was trimming it up. I was looking
Yep.
and put it back in, and it started right back up. But I almost think these newer engines, if somehow they've integrated something now that you've said that, and it's happened to me, if that prop or any type of sudden reaction or strike to the
Jolt.
skag or jolt or something, if it just kills the motor.
I don't know. I'm with you
It make
though.
my heart drop.
I lifted that thing up, and for PG reasons, I had a lot of choice words. My face was red. My fishing buddy's looking at me, and he's like, "Calm down." I'm like, "You have no idea."
Yeah. Yeah, let me show you the itemized statement on how much the boat actually costs compared to what the motor costs.
I don't have to show nobody. It's hanging up on the wall out there, because I remind myself every day. I try and take the best care of my boat, because since I was a little kid bank fishing, I've always wanted a bass boat, and it's not the biggest, most expensive, gorgeous thing, but it gets the job done. So I actually asked for the sticker, the little placard they have out there. I said, I want that. And they're like, you want it? I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, you're paying that much for the boat.
Oh,
And it hangs out there on the garage wall just to remind me why I'm out there, putting UV protectant on the seats and cleaning everything and checking all the screws. I go through my deck once a year.
Yeah.
And I make sure all the screws are tightened up, the windshield screws, all the gauges are there, everything's working. I don't even use the live well, but I take it out, and once or twice a year I fill up the live well and let it flow back out. Just checking things,
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's and sometimes I wish I wasn't that way because it's cost me a lot of money. But I'm that way with my truck. I was that way mainly whenever I say it's cost me a lot of money is when I have my Harley, because shit on them tear up all the time. You don't hear that side of it, but
Yep.
everything in that HD, everything costs for $100 to go with it.
Yes, sir.
But whenever I have a motorcycle, I'd be tinkering around here. And I'm like, oh no, I can't. And I was like, oh well, you're doing this to yourself.
Yeah.
But it's best to be that way before it tears up worse than it would be.
Ready to sink this boat. What's wrong with you, big country?
Let's see here. Next question. What's a bait you think every angler should learn to fish confidently?
A bait every angler. I think plastics in general. I think you should definitely know how to Texas rig, whether it's weighted, pegged weight, weightless. Texas rig has been my go-to, and I know a lot of people Carolina rig, and they just like to drag along that bottom. But Texas rig has caught me so many fish. And it doesn't matter, if you're doing it with the bigger worms, just a crawl, flukes. Flukes are my go-to. I don't use a lot of the stick baits and worms and things like that. And I probably should. I would probably catch more fish than what I do, but it all leads back to that confidence bait thing. When the fish aren't biting, I pull out that weightless fluke and I will throw that thing all day long.
Well, see, that's what I tell everybody. Like you're talking about learning how to fish a bait. See, that's a Helgermite is for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's about 3 or 4 different ways that you can fish them, and everybody thinks you got a Ned rig them. That's the only way you can fish them. I'm like, man, I was like, you ain't got no clue. I was like, there's 3 or 4 different ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I tell everybody, I was like, that's just my confidence. It's what I've fished with in the creeks and the river my entire life, and I've had people like say, you can only Ned rig those. I'm like, no. I was like, you can slow roll them on the bottom. I was like, you can Texas rig them with a long shank hook and put a split shot about 3 or 4 foot from it. I said, and it gives that current, gives that natural action floating through the water like they would if they got current. I could sit here and talk about huggermite fishing all night long, so I'm just gonna shut up.
Nah, you got to think outside the box,
Oh yeah,
Um,
but I mean, I did. I was like that. I said you can, and I said crawls. You can even do crawls the same way. I said I fish with the smaller crawls. I said with a split shot and a
yeah,
Texas rig long shank hook.
yeah.
It's a big country. He says, "What y'all's go-to crankbait?" Mine personally is the if I'm in the creek, it's that little frog-looking bait that I ain't got any hanging over here.
You ain't got any, huh? Mine's gonna be a 2.5 square bill or the wake bait
Yeah.
every time.
See, it's fun knocking those square bills, man, on the bottom in the creek too. Because I mean, they're
Mhm.
just, I mean, depending on how deep you are, I mean, those bills, I mean, those just smack the bottom with them as hard
Yeah,
as you can, and especially any type of, bright colored like a crawl pattern or something. And one of the crawl, you had Dark Side in there. He's a crawl man. Stroud
yep,
was a crawl man. You got John Ward just come in there, which is a crawl man.
yep.
So I mean, I know they're all going to agree with that too.
Look at some of these pros, man. They will take a square bill and they will grind that thing down to a nub.
Oh yeah,
You know, I took a 12-foot bait the other day, the Pretty Lures Striker. They
yeah.
have their own bait now.
Mhm.
And that striker digs and it will go to 12 feet deep. I'm in 6 foot of water and I am just grinding that thing all through the bottom.
I tell you
And
what it's talking about if y'all ain't seen it.
yes, sir, that is a great bait. The action on it's really good. I myself have not hooked up on it yet, but just fishing it in general, the way that it goes through the water, how it almost stands on end, you're able to just keep grinding it through all that
Yeah.
rock and muck and all that stuff, and it just keeps going. So I do like grinding a crankbait around, that's for sure.
Northwater said flicker minnow, and if it ain't digging, you ain't fishing. That's right. What's what's one of your favorite memories from fishing?
One of my favorite memories from fishing, it would have to be when I was a young kid fishing um, at a dam area, and all these guys, grown men out there fishing, throwing every lure they can think of, and we're fishing below the dam. And I grew up around that thing, and we used to walk across it. Excuse me. We used to walk across it, and when it gets shallow and the water's not flowing as good, it's a rock
Yeah.
that it's hitting like a shelf rocks, and it would drop in level and create these pools way out there. And the only way to get to them is to kick off your shoes and head on out there. And I would go out there and catch rock bass.
Yeah.
And I had guys literally paying me to go out there and catch the rock bass and bring them back to them. So that was a core memory. You've got, 6, 8, 10 grown men standing there like, go out there and catch more, get more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They and I tell you, I think my favorite memory, me and my papa, we was catfishing at a pay lake. And me and my brother was aggravating him. And he was finally like, yeah, y'all go over on the other side if you want to. We had like 15 fishing poles out, catfishing. We get all the way over on the other side, and he starts hooting and hollering and screaming and going on. And then, I mean, we can see him, them poles are just every one of them. I think he ended up losing like 5, but he was cussing up and like I never will forget it though. It's the funniest shit I'd ever seen. He was mad than hell. He's like, we hadn't caught a fish in 6 hours. He said, and then y'all go over there and leave me for just a little bit, and there it is.
Too many poles in the water and they all got hit at once.
Yes, yes. It was either that or 1 or 2, and they took out the other ones. Hey, and here's the last one on the fishing part of it, and then we'll
Okay.
get into the bait making. But what's one piece of advice you'd give someone that's just getting into fishing?
Talk to people. Talk to other fishermen. Pick their brains. Don't be afraid to ask. We all love to share information.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met a stranger on the bank of a lake And I say bank because I've only had a boat for about 3 years. So I used to talk to guys all the time. They would give me different advice. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask. You catching them today? What are you catching them on? Especially if you're brand new, they just want to help. They,
Yeah.
you know, if you talk to them that morning and then y'all see each other as you're coming off the lake that afternoon or that evening, that's going to be their first question. Did it work? Did you catch anything? And I can't tell you how many times I've handed out baits, not just to kids, but definitely to the kids. If I see kids fishing, they're getting some baits. I'm handing them out. And it's not always the ones I make, Just last year, I had some kids that were fishing and they weren't catching anything. And I'm, 20 yards away from them and pull out a 3-pound bass. And they're like, what are you using? And I gave them the hooks, the plastics, tied it up for them. I'm like, that's what I'm using. So
that's good, man. That's the way to be. It's all about, the knowledge that you have. You've either figured it out on your own or you've got advice from someone else, and it's good to pass that knowledge on, especially whenever you see youngins out there fishing, trying to catch. Need to see a lot more of that. Maybe that they'll start catching, they'll be showing their buddies pictures, and then they'll get more people involved in fishing.
Yes, sir.
Here, Brian says, I have a question for both of you. I know the techniques and the theories, so why can't I catch fish? Hey, you caught them down on Cumberland whenever we went. I've been eating my words ever since that trip with Brian, because first time me and Brian went fishing, I outfished him, and I talked crap to him till this last trip. I said, I outfished the MLF angler today. I'm impressed with myself. That's what I'd always say. And then we go down to Cumberland and he pulls 3 tanks out. I'm like, well, I'll just shut up. I won't ever say nothing else again.
Yes, sir. I recently went out with this. I have this lady that cuts my hair, and her fiance decided to get into bass fishing. He said, I know you're a bass fisherman and a bait maker. Would you take me out fishing? I said, sure, I will. And then he asked a question that I think any person new to bass fishing is completely overwhelmed with when they get the answer. And he's like, how do you know what you're going to throw today? And I'm like, well, you got to take the wind, the sun, the water clarity and time of year. And I just started going off, and he's like, maybe bass fishing's too complicated for me. I'm like, no, sometimes you just got to keep it simple. Pick something you think is going to work and fish that thing. Just go for it.
Yeah, that's all it is. But I agree with you, Big Country. He says, I like to give other advice and opportunity to see the joys I do in fishing. I agree with you 100% on that.
Heck yeah.
You need to take a break or anything, man?
No, I'm good.
All right. We'll get into the bait making side of tonight. If y'all are in here and didn't know, Cory, he runs the Pondcast, which is a bait makers podcast every Tuesday night. And he is a bait maker himself. And he is always asking the bait making questions. So I figured that it would be appropriate, since he has a bait making podcast and I'm a bait maker that's been on it, I'm going to ask him some questions on bait making tonight. So,
all right.
Here's the first one. Who inspired you to get into bait making?
So it would have been TikTok in general. I got on TikTok, and I think some of the first people that I hung out with was the Rainbolts.
Yeah.
And they introduced me to Bubba and TRS. Yeah. And I started hanging out with them and S&J and Wicked. And Wicked was not painting at the time. So it was definitely those guys, just watching in amazement on how they do these baits. And so I decided to start myself, and boy, that'll humble you real quick. You're like, how do you guys do this? And of course they share their tips and tricks and sit there and actually paint along with you. So it was Bubba who really inspired me to go get the air compressors and the brushes and fall down that deep, deep rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah, it is indeed a rabbit hole for sure. And I want to ask you this. It's not one that I've got wrote down, but it's something that I've kind of talked privately with other people before, bait makers.
Sure.
But was anybody in your family like a hobbyist? Did they do arts and crafts or build things or anything like that?
Um, yes, my real dad was an arborist, a tree climber, and then he started to get into the chainsaw carvings and stuff like that. But in all honesty, I didn't grow up around him.
Yeah.
It wasn't till later in my life that he was doing that. But uh, that part of it, I think, did inspire me just because he took on a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine trying to carve things with a chainsaw, but that was something he had done his whole life, and I think that kind of inspired me. I've fished my whole life to
Yeah.
really jump into it, but my mom, who I grew up with, was never really into many hobbies. I mean, she had kids to raise and money to chase to put food on the table.
Oh,
So
yeah. I get that. And, the reason why I asked that was like I was talking about my grandmother. Like my grandmother was real big in, I mean, she worked at a flower shop for years, the floral industry. She done arts and crafts. I mean, if there was an arts and craft to be done, she did it. And you know what I mean? And so with her doing that, the painting, like whenever I told you the airbrush and the model cars, I could remember every time that she would be watching me or something and we go to Michael's, I would pick a model car out. And then eventually, once she seen I could put them together, she bought me a little cheap airbrush. So,
that's awesome.
and she actually was the one that worked with me on, diluting the paint and cleaning, so all of that knowledge from her doing arts and crafts, paintings, drawings, what I can't draw worth of crap. Luckily I can draw, some jagged lines out to cut a crawl pattern out, but just some of the stuff that she done. But I'm saying all that to say this, I think somehow in our DNA, there's some type of arts and crafts hobbyist
Yeah,
tinkering type of something that we have in our genes.
it
Um,
has to be, and a little bit of commitment to what you're
yeah,
trying to do. If you're not committed, if you're not enjoying it and trying to grab all this knowledge and put it to use, and when you mess a bait up, don't just throw it across the room or into the trash. Keep throwing paint at it or wipe it completely off and start over. um, it is challenging, and I think maybe that's what we enjoy the most. Is it's challenging, but it's also gratifying, when you paint up these baits and then you put them up here in the camera and the chat goes nuts, or you yourself are like, man, that's amazing work.
yeah,
Because to me, it doesn't, I think every artist does this. It doesn't look that great. I'm like, nah, I should have done this. I could have done this. It could look better. But in the eyes of somebody else, man, that's exactly what they want.
oh
And it
yeah.
looks great.
Dark says, "Hey, I take that personal." You're in the wrong place. If you're gonna take something personal, don't ever take nothing personal.
Man,
Horrible.
Swamp's been around forever. And he actually wasn't painting at first when I first got to know him. And now he is painting. And there's some people that, plain and simple, they just have a knack for it. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's a knack, if they just had a hidden artistic ability, but he's taken off so much. I'm asking him questions now.
I tell people all the time. I said the amount of talent that I've seen over the course of just a couple of years is just absolutely insane. Like it's like I tell people, and like there's local painters here that I have baits from that don't even do social media.
Yeah.
They've just got a really good customer base here local. Like I was looking at one guy's work, I'm like, dude, are you on Facebook or anything? He was like, no. I was like, you don't sign them? He was like, no. I was like, why not? He's like, I did that when I first retired. He said I had me like 100 business cards made up. He said, and I got too busy. He said I was miserable.
The next generation, we're the new generation. You had the guys, let's say, our grandpas and stuff like that. They carved wooden baits.
Yeah.
They didn't worry so much about the colors of things. They just had to make a bait shape, something they could fish with,
Yep.
figure out how to get the hooks in it, things like that. We have all of that done for us now. That doesn't make us lazy. It just gives us
Yeah.
something else to strive for. And that's putting some unique, amazing, mind bending design on this bait that
Oh yeah.
somebody just can't live without.
Oh yeah. No, it's a fact, and it's fun too, man. I tell people all the time. I think it was Righteous Tackle. He just come out with his splinters, his balsa baits, and I
Mhm.
bought a couple from him down there at the Columbus, Ohio show.
Mhm.
And I caught a trout on it, sent him a picture. I said, I know these are new. I don't know if you got any feedback or not. I said, but hopefully, I can hook something else up other than a trout. But here they are, it works. And he appreciated that. And we got to talking. And I was like, I just enjoy fishing so much more with either something that I've painted, someone else has painted, or someone else has poured. I said, it's it's a different fishing experience when you're fishing with something that someone that you've met that that has. If you're making baits, then you can have a passion for fishing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't, I mean, you can't. That's like I've told people. I said to be just a itty bitty tiny little salt speck, in an industry that is so big, has meant the world to me and the people that I've met along the way doing it too. But it's just there's just something about fishing mom and pops small bait shop baits. There's something about it for me that I don't think I probably won't ever fish another big box store bait again.
Yep. I
Honestly.
mean, I have a lot of baits from a lot of different people, and we keep talking painting, and the bait making world is so vast
Mhm.
in the plastics and chatterbaits, and I fished Critters Custom. I fished his chatterbait, and everybody always talks about, and I think anybody who fishes a chatterbait could agree. When you throw that chatterbait out there, I don't want to have to jump start it. You know what I mean? A chatterbait is supposed to begin chattering as soon as you start cranking that reel. And his was one that I threw, and when it hit that water and I did that first crank, I could feel it just thumping away. And you could slow roll that thing to where you just barely feel it thumping. That's what we want. We want versatility. So there's a lot of guys who do a lot of great work who don't really pick up airbrushes either.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. And that's what I agree with what Rainbow said. He said the only box store stuff I will have now is something that has been redone by someone. I agree with that. I've
very
done those.
much.
I bought big box brands, but I've turned it into my brand through them, so to speak.
That's right. People love the repaints.
Yep.
They'll tell you, I will only fish. You hear it all the time here on Erie. They love to fish for walleye, but they'll only do it with a Bandit. It has to be that brand, not a knockoff, not a spinoff, not anything else. And Lauren's Lures and Walleye Guy are big Bandit guys. They paint the crap out of those things, and they're really good at it. And they'll tell you right now they have people, they won't even look at a knockoff. They
Yep.
won't even try it. So they get a lot of the Bandits. They do get the blanks, but they can also repaint
Yeah.
originals.
Oh yeah. That's what Big Country says down there. He said, I don't have any big box stuff at all anymore. Won't have any. Have you ever spent 8 hours making a bait just to lose it on the first cast?
Um, I'll have to say no to that because I have painted about a year and a half now, and I have my first 5 baits in my tackle box. I always painted and put them in the auctions. I never fished my own, but this year I've been fishing a lot of my own.
Oh, yeah.
and I haven't lost one yet, but it's
Hey,
coming.
I'm sure
It's
it
coming.
will. It will, and it'll break your heart. But you can always
It
say,
will.
hey, honey, I ain't gotta go down the road and spend $20. I got the
That's
brush
right.
and the paint right here. You know,
I'll let you know if it happens this weekend.
yeah. Now that I mentioned it, you'll probably lose every one of them.
I
Sorry.
painted up a bunch of them. Like I said, I think I have 6 of them out there now, all specific colors. And I'll be honest, when I'm painting for myself, I don't go way out there. I go with some basic color fades, 2 color, 3 color fades, and that's about it. No stenciling, nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So
Ain't nothing
I'll
wrong with
probably
that.
lose every one of them now. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yep, I'm sorry. Let's see here. What's one lure that you've created or painted that surprised you with how well it worked,
Uh,
or a pattern, so
the
to speak?
the Hinkle. When I did the Hinkle KOs, it's a very big bait. The junior, and I'm probably going to get this backwards because I've only painted one set of them. But you've got the regular size Hinkle and you've got the junior. One of them has a engraved scale pattern, the other doesn't. And I did the wiping method to get that scale coloring in there. So I painted the whole thing black, and then I took like steel wool and I just wiped off the whole bait
Oh, that's good.
in one direction, and it left all that scaling in there. And I ended up dropping that bait. I'm painting it, and I drop it, and it goes down the front of the helping hands, scratches the crud out of it, and I was able to turn around and actually use a stencil and put a new scaling on there. So yeah, I amazed myself with that one when it finally turned out, and it turned out what other people thought was beautiful. And I do believe it was Bass Junkie who ended up with that bait,
Yeah,
and he absolutely loves it.
yeah.
So
And I'll tell you, man, Jeff, he's been around. I think he was. I think I Jeff. I think it was maybe. I'm trying to think. He's just a really good dude. I really enjoy Jeff's friendship. He's been really good to me. Um, and he does phenomenal work too, and he tries to support everybody that he can. He was supporting me before he started doing his own baits, and
yeah.
just a overall good dude. Been super good to me. I appreciate that too. But that's cool. That's just funny that I just wanted to shout Jeff out because you hear a lot of other people talk about him too, and he's really good at what he does, and he does, man. He fishes with everybody's stuff.
Yeah, and he's here, there, and everywhere. He doesn't stick to one certain spot. And not that there's anything wrong. If you found a group you like to hang out with, by all means, you hang out with them all you want. But he's one of those that you'll see him over here
Yeah,
on your stuff. You'll see him over at S&J's. You'll see him over at mine. You'll see him at Bubba's and Mad Mexicans. And
yeah,
he's just everywhere. He doesn't stick anywhere too long, but he supports everybody. So
I got you. I can see if I can make that happen for you, big country.
I'd like to see your twist on a flat side. Okay.
We'll get that took care of. Let's see here. I lost my place. What's something about mate making that most people don't realize?
What it takes to put a bait together. I don't think when it comes to the, and this is not meant in a bad way, but the buyer's side of the bait that you're making, I don't think they could physically think of everything that goes into that, from everything you have to use to get it done from start to finish.
Yeah.
They don't think about the eyes and the individual paints and the airbrush cleaners and the compressors we had to buy and the helping hands. And there is so much that goes into making a single bait.
Yeah.
If somebody was to start tomorrow and they just wanted to make this one bait, it would astound you at what it takes to actually get to the point of being finished. The clear coats, That's a whole thing all by itself. Good luck figuring out which one you want to use, and hopefully it works great for you.
Yeah. Yeah. What's up, Ethan? But yeah, I agree. That's what I tell people because there for a little while, I would go live. Like whenever I get ready for a show, I would have, 50 lures that I knew I was going to paint on different profiles. So I just started going live while I was taping bills. I knew that's all I was going to do. Is I
Yeah.
just sit here live and sit here and rip tape. And someone's like, "What are you painting?" I was like, "Nothing. I'm just getting all these ready." And it would
Uh-huh.
be, an hour live of just sitting here and bull crapping, taping baits. And then I'm like, "Well, I got a little bit of time left," and I'd grab the alcohol and the paper towels and sit here and wipe it down, pick another one up, wipe it down.
Yep.
I'd cover them up. The next day I'd come in here, I'd go live, and I'd base coat every one of them with white. And then I'd go live while I was painting them. You know what I mean? So it kind of, everybody that was hanging out that didn't know, they was like, damn. I was like, basically, I was like, all you all get to see is the fun side of it, the paint,
Yes.
throwing the paint on the bait. You don't see all the other little things that you got to do to make the bait come together, like you said.
Right.
And then you get into repaints, you got to sit there and scrub and rub, and that's a whole different story.
Well, you're peeling out the old eyes. You can't use those anymore because you've got to sand off that original clear coat. You've got to get back to the paint to where your paint will stick. Yeah, it's a whole process. And I think unless you've actually sat at the booth with somebody or on a live where they're not time lapsing how time consuming it can be, it takes a while. Do we get quicker over time? Sure. I mean, that's the whole point, is to get more efficient at what you're doing. So it becomes second nature, right?
Yep.
So when we're sitting here trying to tell you what all goes into making a bait, it's tough because some of this stuff we do without thinking about it, like taping the bills. I'll skip over that every time, but you have to do it on every bait.
Yeah.
The other one that'll really stop you in your tracks is the whopper plopper. There's many ways to get it done. The easiest way that I have found is a playing card or index card, and you cut a slit in that thing and you slip it right in between the bait and the tail. At first, I was taping them up and I was cussing, buddy. I hated those things. People would ask for them and I'd be like, yeah, pick something else.
Saran wrap.
Saran wrap, see?
Yeah.
It's those little tips and tricks, and we share them all the time in the lives. We share them on the podcast. We share them here.
Yeah.
If you're not watching all this stuff, you're missing out. There's always a little tip, trick, something that you didn't think about.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, Pooh says it's Alabama fishing too. I got about 4 I got to paint up for Alabama tomorrow. Let's see here. And this is ties in with your podcast. What's your favorite part about talking bait making with other bait makers?
It's just the camaraderie. It's the stuff that you can draw out of people that they didn't even know. I was just talking with somebody that's going to be on the podcast tomorrow, and he said, I really don't have no tips or tricks, and I don't want to scare anybody off. I'm a little boring. And it's amazing when you start talking to somebody and they really get into it, what you can draw out of them.
Yeah.
And it's the whole reason I love doing the interviews. It's exciting, and people know a lot more than they think they do.
Killjoy says, is it important to test and tune your lures before shipping them? I would say this. It is what I typically do if I get a batch of lures in that I've never painted before. I will take one of the blanks and I will go out and I'll throw it. I'm 100% honest with my customers. I tell them they've not been tuned. I've tested one. I look for defects in every one of them. If there's chips, there's cracks in the bills and the bait, I turn them into keychains. So there's a little tip and trick there. If you got a lure that's damaged, sell it as a keychain. That
Yep.
way you're not losing your money on it. Like I have an entire box that I hang up at these shows that I go to that are
Yep.
keychains. And typically, instead of signing those, I will put KC on it. That way, if someone does buy the keychain and says, "Oh, I'm gonna put hooks on it, and fish it," and then hits me up, says this lure I got from you don't work, I'm gonna say, "Well, take a picture of the bottom of it." And if it says KC on the bottom of them, say, "Well, that was a keychain.
Mm-hmm.
I sold that
That's
to
a
you
good
at a
idea.
keychain price. That ain't a." If it would have been a hard bait, it said tiny or OWT on it.
Yeah.
So
I
always,
would have to elaborate on that question a little more. You have to think about us people who live way up north. You know, can I do what you just said. I take a bait blank out and I check it out. I try it out, and if I like it, then I'll go ahead and paint it and put it up for auction. But during the winter, all I have is my bathtub,
yeah,
you know. So I don't tend to take on a lot of new style baits during the winter just because I can't do anything with them. I can't test them out. And if that is the case, where let's say, you know, Tiny or Pretty Lure or Dead on Baits comes out with a brand new lure, I'll tell them that too. I'll
yeah,
be like, look, I painted this up. I haven't been able to test it.
yeah.
I can't do anything with them in the winter. So
Is it important to? Now, I have a buddy, he tests and tunes every lure that he's got. But with that's good. But like what Rainbow said earlier, your conditions and your waters that you're fishing. A lure might be tuned right for a creek, but it's not for the lake or it's not
yep.
for the river. It's, and I ask people if they know how to tune them, like it shows. Um, I'm like, look, I've tested the blanks out of order. I didn't have no issues. Didn't see any issues with the blank itself. But do you know how to tune? And most fishermen know how to tune.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you may have to tune it.
Yep. Yep.
But whenever you're painting 50, 60 lures at a time, getting ready for an expo, it's physically impossible for me as a one man show to sit and confidently look at someone and say, yes, I took every one of these baits out and tuned them.
Yeah.
I told Strauss the other day, we were live painting, and I was like, you won't ever even hear me talk about the durability of my clear coat. It doesn't matter. Like I've been using BSI and I love it. But I said, even if I get this figured out and I switch to it, I said, I feel like if I start telling customers that my bait is indestructible, then something's going to happen to it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that one time that I say, you're going to be able to do this or this or this. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you truly believe that about what you're using, that's perfectly fine. This is just my opinion.
Right.
I said, but you'll never hear me ever say anything about the durability out of a
Yeah.
UV, a KBS, a BSI. Now BSI, I really like it. I didn't think I was going to like it because I'd never fooled with any two-part epoxies. I'd mainly used the KBS in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and then switched to UV. But I almost, other than it taking 24 hours for it to fully cure, I almost think I'm faster clear coating with BSI than I am UV.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm the complete opposite. I've never tried anything else but BSI. And that is one question I always have as my set of questions over on the podcast is, what clear coat do you use? And it's amazing. Some people will use several different clear coats,
Yeah.
and some, like myself, have only used one. The one and only. They got good at it. They stuck with it. That's what they go with.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah. Which we got off subject there a little bit. It come up and I was like, ah, so this is a good talking point.
yeah, 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 yeah. I
But like
seen Bear asked a question down here, if you don't mind.
no, go ahead.
He said, "What's my favorite bait to paint?" Um, I really enjoy painting the 2.5s and the wee shads. I don't know why; they're just some of my favorites to paint. I do get into some of the bigger baits; they're a lot of fun to paint as well. But I like something that gives me room to put different designs on there and test different things. I found myself the other day, I was, stuck in doing the same things over and over again, and I hadn't painted in a while. And I took a bait, and I'm staring at it back here, and the answer is no, I will not show it. And I put tape on it, and I made different designs, and I put my, crackle pattern on it and scale pattern on it, and I just was doing all this different stuff, and it's such a Frankenstein bait. But it's stuff I hadn't done in a while, and I needed to get it out there and, knock the dust off the paint booth. So
yeah, that's what's fun, is just being able to sit down and just do whatever you want to do. You can't, there's times that I come in here and do that, don't even go live. I'm just going to get in here and
I zone out a lot by myself. I don't get in a live. I do set on the outside of lives sometimes because I have my iPad right here and I'm listening to music, and jamming out and just getting in the zone. And a lot of times when I get in a live, it pulls me out of the zone. People are saying, "Hey, did you see that comment down there?" Or, Tiny saying hi to you. And it's like, hi, it's not frustrating. It's pulling your mind out of what you're doing.
Yeah. Rainbow asks, what music helps you paint best?
I love all kinds of music. It depends on my mood. There are times I am listening to some of the hardcore metal, and I'm not talking kind of hardcore. I think they're calling it death metal now. And there's other times I'm sitting here listening to Jack Johnson, or country, or it just depends on my mood as to what helps me paint better. Some of my favorite bands though are, like Metallica and Shinedown and Pantera and Five Finger Death Punch but I'm all over the Richter scale. And then I'll turn all that off and I'll listen to country or Jack Johnson. So
ain't nothing wrong with Pink Pony Club, Jigs. Don't be hating on Pink Pony Club. We jamming at the Pink Pony Club on the pontoon this weekend. Don't be
Kids Bob.
That's what I started laughing about. I seen Uncle Tom's comment. I was trying to contain myself, but it was hard to. And here's the last question I got for you, and then we'll get into no time to retie, and we'll do those giveaways. How's that sound?
Boy.
So what's one piece of advice you would give someone just getting into bait making?
Ask questions and listen. If somebody gives you some advice, don't just nod your head and then not do it. If somebody says, "Hey, try using some loofah from the Dollar General to make a scale pattern," actually give it a shot. Don't just bypass it. People are taking their time to give you advice. Definitely use the advice and take it to heart, and listen to everybody. Everybody's got great information, and Tiny paints his baits a lot different than I do, and Swamp paints his different, and Jigs paints his different. But it's a mixture of a collaboration of all this information that we've all gotten, and we figure out different and unique ways to use it for our baits and our style. So take time to listen and ask questions.
That's a fact. And, there's been several guys on here throughout the last couple of years, man. Some that I reached out to that I didn't even think I would get a response from. That I've gotten advice from them. But that's the thing, man, is it's the community, like you said, the collaboration. You're just about everybody that's in here is probably like minded like me and you. I want to see everybody win. I don't want, I do. That's just how I am. I try to support everybody that I possibly can when I can. But at the end of the day, I think if anybody has a mindset that they want to do something, can't never could do nothing was, something my football coach used to say. I can't do it, coach. I can't never could do shit. That's exactly what he
That's
said.
right. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah. So that's definitely, you put your mind to something, whether it's anything in life.
Yeah.
Bait making, fishing, just anything. I mean, you put your mind to something, you'll surprise yourself at what you can do and accomplish.
Well, I actually doubted the questioning part of it. I had people tell me, don't be afraid to ask a question. And leaving all names out of it, there was a very well known bait maker who I know is super busy. And he told me one day, he said, if you have a question, just let me know. And he actually, messaged me his phone number. And I had that phone number for months. And we had texted a little bit, hey, it's me, blah, blah, blah. And months went by, and finally my phone dings, and he says, you don't have any questions? And I said, man, I know you're super busy and I greatly appreciate it, but I don't want to bother you. And he goes, if I thought you were bothering me or I didn't have time, you wouldn't have my number, or I wouldn't have offered. So if somebody's offering, take them up on the offer. So, and I talked to him, not a whole lot. I still feel like I'm bothering him, but that's not the case, and I need to get that out of my head.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, man. If someone says you need any help or need anything at all, and it's just not in bait making, that's in life in general. It's we're all friends on here, and we need to have each other's back and be in each other's corners. And
Yeah,
that's what it's about for me is the community and having a good relationship with a lot of good people. It stunned me, in the beginning. It doesn't now, but there's a lot of great people on this app, with fishermen and bait makers, and just about all the bait makers are fishermen, so they all fall in the same category.
there are some who are not. I have found some that make some great bass lures, and they do not fish for bass.
Yeah.
Some that make some great crappie lures, and they don't fish for crappie. So
let's see here. Well, it's time for no time to retire. You ready?
as ready as I'll ever be.
I know you're familiar with it, so here we go.
All right.
Go-to fishing snack.
It's gonna be oh my gosh. It's gonna be the breakfast snack bars.
I got you. Favorite rod band. I can't talk. Favorite rod band. Brand.
I
Favorite
thought
rod
you were
brand.
trying to say rock band.
Yeah.
It's Daiwa.
Iowa. Use the net or boat flip.
Boat flip.
What's more dangerous, treble hooks or boat ramps?
Both.
What's more addictive, making baits or buying them?
Buying them.
Yeah. Do you only paint lures if it has the color orange in it?
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. Well, I always have to throw something in there towards the end that I know people get a hard time over.
Oh yeah.
But I will tell you, I can't dig it out. I sent you the video or the picture the other night of all the airbrush paint that I went down to the lobby and got.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you said all the bandits that I painted up trolling for. I don't know if you've seen that video, but I used only those paints on those lures. It wasn't that I didn't, finally I was just like, if Cory's saying that it's worth it, it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was it took me a little while to get some funds built up, but I got down there and I said, I seen all the combos that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I ended up getting like 37 bottles of it for I bought some other things.
Yeah.
But, well, let's see here. Here's the boxes I got. There's 10, 20, 25. I got 27 bottles.
Yep.
And one thing that I seen in a single, no, it ain't that. I don't know if you've tried this yet, but I'm going to try it. But they actually got a matte finish.
No.
Yeah, or a matte varnish. I've not tried it yet, but whenever I seen that, I was like,
Well, I know where I'm going.
yeah. I said, I'm gonna give that a try. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'd heard you talking about it and a few other people over in your podcast, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna get it, but I think I got I did. It was 2 10 packs and then a 5 pack, and then I got 2 or 3 random bottles. But it's great paint.
I was gonna say, now that you've tried it, I mean, I was really impressed with it for just being. Everybody, I always ask, what brand is it? What brand is it? And it's like it's airbrush. That's what it is.
Yeah, the matte varnish, it wouldn't be waterproof. So, I mean, the thing about it is, that's one thing that I've not done a lot of. I think Rainbow in here does or has.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just be honest with you. That's not a me question. That's a Rainbow question. If he's still in here, he might have a video over on YouTube. But I tried doing some. You can put multiple layers of that varnish or top coat on um, before your clear coat, and it'll kind of give it that matte finish.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as matte as I would have liked it to have been. It was the Tretex brand. Matte was what I got.
Yeah.
But like there was one guy, he was like, you may have to put up to like 10 coats of that stuff on it before it's a true matte finish.
Yeah. There are a few people out there, and I'm sure more than what I know, that do that matte finish, and it's not as straightforward as you'd think it is. I think
Rainbow just says add it to your paint as well.
oh,
So okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense there. Thank you for that, Rainbow. Appreciate your help answering that question, because that's one thing I do like about Rainbow is he does have a YouTube channel and he does do a lot of tips and tricks, videos, and does a really good job on them too. So thank you for that too, Rainbow. While you're in there.
well, I recruited Mr. Rainbolt, so we're gonna have him on the podcast for sure. Oh, sir. Thanks for having me on here. Do I have any questions for you? We asked you a lot of questions over there, and I honestly, I do have one.
All right.
So when I first started watching you do this, you used to do it over at the barbershop. Now I see you're back at home. Did you just get more relaxed in the fact of doing it at home, or how did that happen?
It was honestly like I still have a key to the barbershop and I could go down there and still do it. But it was the packing up what I was going to give away, getting the phone stand, going down there and honestly it was quite funny. It never happened while I was live, but people would drive by and they would see the lights on in there. And I don't know how many times that people would come and knock on the door like while I was getting set up and be like, "Hey man, y'all open?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "If you want me to cut your hair," I was like, "I'll do it for free, but you're not gonna be happy." I was
I'll
like,
get them
"You wanna buy
clippers
some-"
out.
I was like, "The bait shop's open." I was like, "You want to buy some lures?" I was like, "I can take care of you." I was like, "But you don't want me to cut your hair."
We can get you a very nice lure and a very scary haircut. Sit on down.
But that's the big and the barbershop. It's about 5 minutes from the house, but it was literally. It didn't take that long, but it's just nice. I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna try and do it from here, but whenever it's nice, like these get like the tackle grab, like usually if it gets filled, and we still have that going on, guys. Got a few spots left on that if you want to get in on it. It's a gold chain. It's pinned up here. Got a few spots. Last man standing. But it's just nice being home, honestly, because as soon as I get done, I can walk out of here and I can go ahead and start printing shipping labels off.
Yes, sir.
And getting the live downloaded, and I ain't got to drive home and pack everything back in. Not like it's a ton of stuff. But that's the reason why I may
have answered that before and I just missed it, but I just noticed all of a sudden. I was like, yeah, he's definitely at home.
Yeah. No, I'm at the house, but I got your 2 down there too, Nubby. Thank you. But yeah, and even Vernon asked me that because like he gets a notification. He was like, "Did you quit doing your podcast?" And I was like, nah, man. I was like, I just tried it at the house, and I was like, it's a lot quieter. If
Yeah.
Dusty doesn't get riled up down there, but it's just one less thing that I have to worry about. I don't have to pack everything up, and half the time I was forgetting shit down there. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I couldn't imagine trying to do the podcast somewhere else other than where I'm sitting, where everything's just readily available to get things done.
I got you on there, jigs. But yeah, it's I like going down there, and it's funny because like I'll go down there some days and I'll be sitting in the chair, you know, getting my hair cut, and Vernon he's had there's other customers in there, so
Ooh, them gold chains are going off now.
yeah, we've got it closed down. I'll get this ready while I talk, but
Yep.
like Vernon, he'll come over and he'll hand me cash. And like there was one dude in there one day, he was like, I've been coming in here since this place was open. He said, I ain't ever sat in a chair and had any money give to me. And Vernon's like, well, he's like, whenever you decide to bring something down here for me to sell, he said, maybe you'll get some. But it was funny. Let's see here. Where's the wheel?
Tiny Uncle Tom says Tiny has a gift card for me for a free haircut.
Hey, I told that dude that night, I said, I can hook you up, but you're probably not going to be happy.
I'm weird. I am picky with my haircut, mainly because it's starting to disappear.
Yeah. It's like my dad always used to say, people give him a hard time, like mom and other people, but about his hair turning gray, and he's like, I don't give a damn. He said, what color it turns as long as it don't fall out.
Yeah.
But Cory, I always I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you what you do for the bake making community. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, meet you. Got to sit around and bullcrap a little bit up there at the Columbus show. I'm sure we'll be doing that again this year.
Oh, definitely.
Coming up. But like I said, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you having me on yours. It's been a blast getting to meet you and a lot of new people over there in your life as well. But if y'all ever need anything, let me know. And more enter for the night.
Well, they load up some questions. I got to say, it's been really great getting to know you. It all started with just one text message, and I think we've talked every since then. And we kind of bounce ideas off each other once in a while for this stuff. And I don't think either one of us kind of looks at the other when they do something a little bit similar. And I know our podcasts are quite a bit different, but the same in the sense that it's still just fishing.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. It's one of those things that I get. It's funny because ever since I've got on here, like I still talk about fishing at work. There's a couple guys that are usually not there as often, but people's like, you still fish? You don't talk much. I'm like, dude, I've got hundreds of people that I can talk about fishing with now. I was like, I talk about it every day. I was like, I just don't have to bore y'all with it, I was like, even though I do appreciate you letting me talk about it, whether you want to hear it or not, but
yeah. I know some people like that, and my wife's actually one of them. She's not a big fishing person, but boy, she will sit there and how she listens intently to what I have to say about what I just painted or the newest jig or whatever it may be. She does it every time, and I sure do appreciate it. But yeah, it's great having people, hundreds of people to talk to about fishing.
Oh yeah, it is. And like Rachel just said right there, it's because we love it.
That's the wife right there.
I got you. Well, hello, Mrs. Uncle Cory Custom by. I'll call you that. My wife gets so mad whenever I call her Mrs. Tiny. I'm gonna have to try to record that one time out on the boat. I'm like, Mrs. Tiny, will you get me a drink? She'll be like, you can go F yourself.
I might have to try that.
She said, I've been called worse. My wife works in the medical profession. I'm sure she has too.
That's what my wife does. She works in the medical field.
I understand that. Well, I didn't really see any come through. Did you?
No, I think you kind of covered everything, man. What a great interview. I was nervous and excited all at the same time, and it's definitely a lot different being on the other side of the screen, being asked the questions, and you definitely stumped me on a couple of them. But what a great time, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, ain't no problem, man. I enjoyed it tonight, and like I said, I'll get her downloading tonight. Get her edited out and throw her over on the tube and over on Spotify. And if any of my followers are still in here that aren't familiar with Uncle Cory's, you can find his on YouTube and every Tuesday night on
Yep.
TikTok right here.
Yes, sir.
Well, man, I appreciate you very much. And man, everybody have a great night. Appreciate you all that come in, tuned in, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Thank you, sir.
See y'all tomorrow night over on Cory's.